I need the police to answer the
5 shots in total for Jan Jackson.
Jury find the defendant, Alexander Jackson, guilty of the offense of murder in the first degree.
Stand up now! Stand up! Stand up!
He was brilliant and an humble young man, very smart. He was an all.
In a tale that shook the legal world to its core, the story of Alex Murdaugh, a wealthy and once respected lawyer from South Carolina, is a chilling account of how power, privilege, and corruption can lead to unimaginable crimes. Alex Murdaugh was not just any lawyer. He was the scion of a powerful legal dynasty that had wielded influence in South Carolina for over a century. His family had long served as prosecutors in the region, establishing a reputation of authority and respect. However, the very foundation of that reputation crumbled when Alex Murdaugh was exposed not only as a thief and fraudster, but also as a cold-blooded murderer. The unraveling of Murdaugh's life of deceit and crime began on June 7, 2021, when he made a frantic 911 call, claiming he had discovered the bodies of his wife, Maggie, and his son, Paul, near the dog kennels on their expansive estate.
This is Alex Murdaugh at 4147 Moselle Road. I need the police to answer immediately.
In the call, Murdaugh stated that his wife and son had been brutally shot by unknown intruders. He even admitted to bringing a gun to the scene after discovering their bodies, though he claimed it was purely for his own protection.
Just to let you know, because of the scene, I did go get a gun and bring it down here.
It's in your vehicle? Do you have any guns on you at all?
No, sir. It's leaning up against the side of my car.
Okay. You're fine, man. You're fine.
It was bad. Check the pulses.
Yes, sir.
However, as investigators would soon discover, Murdaugh's story was riddled with inconsistencies.
Describe his hands.
They were clean. Clean.
How would you describe his arms?
They were clean.
How would you describe his t-shirt?
Clean.
Despite the shocking nature of the crime, no arrests were made for over a year. The investigation seemed to stall until July 2022, when Murdaugh was finally arrested and charged with 2 counts of murder and 2 counts of possession of a weapon during the commission of a violent crime. Prosecutors accused him of killing his wife and son in a desperate attempt to cover up a series of financial crimes that were on the verge of being exposed. Murdaugh's motive, they argued, was to gain public sympathy and divert attention from his mounting legal troubles.
I tried to do it as limited as possible, but I tried to take their pulse on both of them.
As the trial began in September 2023, it quickly became clear that this case was unlike any other. The prosecution presented a mountain of evidence against Murdaugh, including damning forensic findings and witness testimonies that painted a grim picture of a man willing to go to any lengths to protect his secrets. Despite this, Murdaugh's defense team tried to portray him as a loving husband and father who had been framed by the police. They blamed his erratic behavior on a long-standing addiction to painkillers, which they argued had clouded his judgment and led him to lie about his whereabouts on the night of the murders. In a dramatic turn, Murdaugh took the stand and confessed to a series of financial crimes, including stealing money from his clients to feed his addiction. He also admitted to lying to investigators about where he was on the night his wife and son were killed. However, he vehemently denied any involvement in their deaths, tearfully insisting that he loved them more than anything.
Sir, I would never hurt my wife, Maggie, and I would never hurt my son, Papa.
But his pleas of innocence fell on deaf ears. After less than 3 hours of deliberation, the jury found Alex Murdaugh guilty on all counts. The once powerful attorney was sentenced to life in prison without the possibility of parole, showing no emotion as the judge handed down the sentence.
Sentence you to the State Department of Corrections on each of the murder indictments in the murder of your wife, Maggie Murdaugh, for the murder of Paul Murdaugh, whom you probably loved so much.
But Alex Murdaugh's story is far from the only case of familial betrayal and murder that has shocked the nation in recent years. Take, for example, the case of Alexander Jackson, a 22-year-old former college student from Cedar Rapids, Iowa. On June 15, 2021, Jackson called 911, claiming that an intruder had broken into his home and shot him in the foot, as well as his father, Jan, his mother, Melissa, and his sister, Sabrina.
Someone broke into our house. I've been shot. My other family member's been shot. I need help.
However, the truth was far more sinister. Jackson had shot and killed his entire family with a .22 caliber rifle, which belonged to his father. He had then shot himself in the foot in a failed attempt to stage the crime as a home invasion. When police arrived at the scene, they quickly noticed discrepancies in Jackson's story. There was no evidence of a break-in, no signs of a struggle, and the security cameras in the neighborhood showed no trace of the intruder Jackson described. Instead, the evidence pointed directly to Jackson himself. His fingerprints were found on the murder weapon, and gunshot residue was discovered on his hands.
And doubt is what we ask of you as jurors when you evaluate the evidence in a case, is to look at it critically, use your common sense, because this is a case of circumstantial evidence. What that means is that, even though the law makes no distinction, the evidence has to be so compelling as to remove all reasonable doubt.
Despite his attempts to cover his tracks, Jackson was arrested and charged with 3 counts of first-degree murder. During his trial, the prosecution presented a meticulous case against Jackson, detailing the horrific nature of the crimes. They argued that Jackson had orchestrated the murders to benefit financially, possibly hoping to inherit his family's assets. Jackson's defense team, however, argued that the case against him was circumstantial and that there was no concrete motive for him to kill his family. They urged the jury to consider the lack of direct evidence and to question whether the prosecution had truly proven Jackson's guilt beyond a reasonable doubt. But the jury was not swayed. They found Jackson guilty on all counts, and he was sentenced to life in prison without the possibility of parole. As the verdict was read, Jackson displayed no visible emotion, a chilling reminder of the coldness with which he had executed his family.
We, the jury, find the defendant, Alexander Jackson, guilty of the offense of murder in the first degree.
In another horrifying case, on June 15, 2023, in Monroe Township, Ohio, 32-year-old Chad Dorman committed an unthinkable act of violence against his own children.
These are men and women with families, children, feelings, emotions. They held these boys in their arms knowing there was nothing they could do to save them.
After returning home early from work, Dorman asked his wife and 3 sons to join him in the primary bedroom, where he retrieved a gun and began shooting. Dorman's wife desperately tried to save their sons, urging them to run, but Dorman pursued and killed them all. He even shot his stepdaughter, although she survived the attack. When law enforcement arrived, they found Dorman at the scene, showing no remorse for his actions and readily admitting to the crime. He was arrested and charged with 9 counts of aggravated murder, as well as additional charges of kidnapping and assault. The case is still ongoing, with the prosecution seeking the death penalty. Even more shocking was the case of Blake Jefferson, a 22-year-old from Houston, Texas, who brutally murdered his own mother, Dedra, by stabbing her multiple times in their home.
I mean, it's a sad situation. It's a few days to Christmas. I mean, the lady just literally put up, the Christmas decorations and stuff, so it's bad. I mean, your own child killing you.
Reports suggested that Jefferson had overdosed on his mother's prescription medication before the attack and had been experiencing severe mental health issues. Despite the gruesome nature of his crime, Jefferson showed no remorse during his trial, instead displaying erratic and bizarre behavior in court. He was ultimately found not guilty by reason of insanity and was committed to a mental health facility, where he will remain until he is deemed fit for release. These cases of familial murder are disturbing reminders of the depths of human depravity. Each story is a tragic example of how the people we trust the most can sometimes become our worst enemies. As these cases continue to unfold, they serve as stark warnings of the darkness that can lurk beneath the surface of even the most seemingly normal lives. That is all about today's video. If you enjoyed this video, please give a thumbs up and subscribe to the channel and press the bell icon so you won't miss any future video we upload. Thank you for watching. See you soon in the next episode. Until then, goodbye.